All right, and now to this. In a primetime address to the nation, President Trump said the war in Iran will wrap up very shortly. But he warned the U.S. will also be ramping up strikes in the next 2 to 3 weeks, saying the U.S. military will hit Iran extremely hard. He also discussed goals for the operation.
We've done all of it. Their Navy is gone. Their Air Force is gone. Their missiles are just about used up or beaten. I'm pleased to say that these core strategic objectives are nearing completion.
CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi joins us now from the White House with more on this. Olivia, good morning. So I know we spoke about this earlier, but what new information did we learn from the president's speech?
Well, good morning. It's good to see both of you. We didn't learn much as far as new information from this White House. One thing the president did say yesterday was actually talking about those protests we saw earlier in the year inside of Iran, mass protests across the country. And it was hard to get information out at that time because the Iranian government had really tamped down on their access to the internet. So we weren't getting a lot of factual information. But yesterday, during his primetime speech, President Trump said that 45,000 people inside of Iran were killed during those protests. That caught my attention because previously this White House had been saying it was between 30,000 and 35,000. Still very shocking numbers, but certainly 45,000 was a new number we heard from the president. Also, when talking about the Strait of Hormuz, he mentioned that it could open up, quote, naturally, but did not offer any specifics on what naturally actually means, given the fact that it is closed by the Iranian regime currently due to concerns about mines or missile strikes that they could launch on some of the ships that are transiting through the region. Take a listen to what President Trump said yesterday about the strait and perhaps who could be in charge of reopening it.
The countries of the world that do receive oil through the Hormuz Strait must take care of that passage. They must cherish it. They must grab it and cherish it. They can do it easily. We will be helpful, but they should take the lead in protecting the oil that they so desperately depend on.
Now, the president did say he is expecting the conflict to be wrapped up in the next 2 to 3 weeks, but added that their military is decimated. So he didn't give much specifics on what the next strategic objectives are to reach that 2-week, 3-week threshold, which the White House can say mission accomplished. But the president was speaking to Americans last night, just trying to level set with them about why the U.S. is in this conflict, how much longer it can last, and when their gas prices could potentially go down.
I think that last point you mentioned, Olivia, about level setting is very important because my reaction was the same. I listened to it and I go, okay, what was new? But we have to remind ourselves that not everyone is following this as closely as all of that.
Right.
And so it was an opportunity maybe to reach folks that, you know, are confused about what's happening, but level set. I really like the way you put that. There were a few notable topics that the president didn't mention. What can you tell us?
Yeah, well, on that level setting that we actually just talked about, you're right. We consume this information all the time, but the American people don't really. And it was day 32 of the war, and it was the first time the president gave a primetime address to the people talking about why this was necessary. So you heard him go through the timeline, you know, from the USS Cole to the killing of Soleimani during his first administration to now the war in Iran, why the president felt like it was so necessary to do that. So he set all of that up, but then did not announce any new missions, did not announce whether there would be ground troops inside of Iran. He didn't telegraph how far he was willing to go or not go, which, as this White House and the Pentagon have said, they're just not willing to do that at this point because they want to keep the enemy, Iran in this case, unaware of what the president's next move could be. But we really did not hear any announcement or big shift in the posture currently inside of Iran or towards Iran, other than to say, hey, look, here's what we're planning to do. It's going to take another 2 to 3 weeks. Gas prices will hopefully come down afterwards. Prices will hopefully come down afterwards. But the president level setting again last night with the American people about the expectations with the war in Iran.
Yeah, very important.
Yeah.
Olivia, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, Iran fired missiles toward Israel and Gulf states following President Trump's address last night. CBS News senior foreign correspondent Holly Williams brings us more on Tehran's response.
Iran has issued what seems to be a direct response to President Trump's address to the nation last night, and it is typically fiery. A spokesman for Iran's military command said in a statement addressing the US and Israel this morning, quote, "This war will continue until you experience humiliation, permanent regret and inevitable surrender." Now, that's obviously in contrast to the time frame that President Trump suggested last night, saying the war could continue for another 2 or 3 weeks. Needless to say, the two sides often give starkly different narratives in this conflict. As you know, Trump has repeatedly claimed that Iran's leaders are eager to do a deal to end the war, while Iran has denied that it is negotiating at all. That Iranian spokesman also claimed that the US and Israel have not destroyed Iran's missile production centers, long-range attack drones and advanced air defense systems, asserting that they are in locations that the US and Israel cannot reach. Now, it's obviously impossible for us to confirm the exact damage done to Iran's military, but it is clear that the US and Israel have been dominant in this conflict and have set Iran back militarily. Yesterday, Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian also shared an open letter addressed to the American public. Pezeshkian criticized what he called the machinery of misinformation that he said was misrepresenting his country. He also wrote, quote, "Exactly which of the American people's interests are being served by this war?" Back to you.
All right, Holly Williams, thank you. For more on the reaction overseas to President Trump's address, we're joined by CBS News foreign correspondent Ramy Inocencio from London. So, Ramy, what response are you seeing in Europe and the rest of the world from this?
Yeah, well, first reactions coming out are strong pushbacks against President Trump's address yesterday. French President Emmanuel Macron, he criticized Trump's suggestion that countries who need Gulf oil should, quote, take it, i.e. use military force. And Macron said that a military operation was never something that France supported, and that opening Hormuz needs to be in consultation with Iran, basically opening up talks. On another topic, he also called out Trump for threatening again to pull the U.S. out of NATO, and that his words are sowing doubt in the alliance. We're also hearing from Poland's president, Donald Tusk. He said that things like the threat of NATO's breakup and this massive energy crisis in Europe looks like Putin's dream plan. And right now, as we are speaking, there is a virtual summit of 35 countries now in session to try to get to how to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The nuts and bolts of this is that the UK is spearheading this with Prime Minister Keir Starmer. About 24 countries are from Europe, including France and Germany, several notably from Asia Pacific. And remember, about 80% of the oil that comes out of Hormuz goes to Asia. Japan and South Korea represented there. The UAE and Bahrain, of course, have big investments there in terms of oil exporting and strategics, Bahrain being host to the U.S. Fifth Fleet. But today, talks are about getting everyone politically aligned. They're just talks. There's no expectation that anything big will come out of this right now, and that things could happen in the future. Some operations, perhaps mine clearing or protecting tankers, but only if and when the war and those missiles and drones finally stop.
Very important update. Ramy, thank you.